There's a woman, a former yoga instructor of almost 30 years, who I would consider to be an extremely unique type of yoga instructor. I hope you're watching this. If you'll recall, you played this song one day in your class that I was in. That was during a time of my life when I had hit absolute rock bottom. I felt that all of my dreams had been shattered. I felt all alone, that nobody would ever care about me. I was heartbroken and very rapidly running out of any real meaning and purpose for being here in this classroom. And my body was a reflection of that. As it turned out, I have severe rheumatoid arthritis, which is an autoimmune disease that I'm now medicated for. But if you recall, you played this song in your class that day, which caused me to start crying uncontrollably. It brought me into having an intense spiritual experience in your class that day, and feeling the love of God, or what anyone chooses to call this source, that I'd never felt before. And it had been a very long time since I had cried. As straight masculine men, we are taught by our ridiculous culture that somehow it's wrong for us to ever cry. Which, that in itself is entirely horse shit and destructive as all hell. And as I'm sure you know, as well as at least most women know, this form of crying is your immediate connection to this infinitely loving, all-knowing, and healing source. If you'll recall, after that class, when I was out in the dressing room area, sitting by myself and feeling ashamed for breaking down and crying in your class, you came up to me, gave me a hug, and told me how proud you were of me for having the courage to go that deep within myself. I've never had anyone that has shown me loving kindness like that before. If you'll recall, a long time ago, I asked you if you wanted to be my friend, and then if you would sit with me after my aging parents die, the way the Quakers and the Amish do for each other after the loss of a loved one. Even though I don't see my parents a whole lot, I believe they're all I have left of folks who actually care about me. Which is what you'll commonly find among folks in my demographic as straight masculine men who don't fit in anywhere. There's a whole ocean full of us, and that has everything to do with the type of politics we have in our country now. That works for any group of folks referring to innate qualities of people, whatever demographic they're in. Any group of folks, when they are made to feel left out, looked down upon, demonized, you're going to have an adverse reaction that way from whatever demographic that may be. And it also includes women. Women are capable of violence in that regard too. The suffragette revolution is a good example of that. So I need to read part of your email that you wrote to me in your response for us to become friends. Because God, or whatever you choose to call this source, has been wanting me to say something to you for a long time. And please don't worry, because your confidentiality is secure with me. You said, perhaps another time in history, or place in life, there could have been a friendship between us, but not now. In this crazy, unkind world, especially for those who don't quite know where they fit in. If you're a straight, masculine man who does not fit in anywhere, and most critically, if you're doing the work on yourself, you need to know that being a straight, masculine man who does not fit in anywhere does not in any possible way somehow make you a monster. Indian philosopher Jiddu Krishnamurti said, "It is by no means a measure of health to be well adjusted to such a profoundly sick society." So, if you're a straight, masculine man who doesn't fit in anywhere, you need to feel proud. Because God is incredibly proud of you. And I know that this woman, very unique yoga instructor, hopefully you're watching this, knows this too. Because I know that you are not a brick wall. Very, very far from it. I'm going to say something to you, and I don't want you to get the wrong idea about me, because I'm not trying to make a pass at you by telling you this. You're a married woman with children, and I'm not some type of creep like that. I don't see you that way, nor have I ever seen you that way. Not to mention that I'm no longer interested in relationships throughout the rest of my time in this particular classroom. But as a very attractive woman, if you're going to be honest with yourself, you have seen straight men fawning all over you throughout your time here. Furthermore, I know that you are extremely passionate about yoga and yogic teachings. And quite apparently, you sacrificed what you were so extremely passionate about in order to stand on universal truth. And because you did that, you got ostracized for it. So first off, do you know how incredibly rare it is for an exceptionally attractive woman to do that in our society? I can say the same thing about men who are born into extreme power and affluence. And I know I would have an entire ocean full of men and women vehemently agreeing with both. And I'll certainly say that throughout all the times I've stood on universal truth, I've found it to be extremely rare among just regular folks to do that anyway. Now, in the other part of that sentence that I cut off from in that email that I was reading that you wrote to me was about transference. But I want to make this clear in that I'm not calling you a saint. That would be part of the daddy's little princess paradigm, and fuck that. I'm telling you that from everything that I've ever seen from you previous, you have shown me to be a very serious student in this classroom. And very serious students are the only folks that I'm going to have anything to do with, really, that I'm going to allow into any part of my space. I got no time for narcissists and narcissism, or people who are choosing to step through that gateway to become that way. Otherwise, I got no problem at all being completely by myself. As you can see, right now, I am in an utterly remote place. There's no one around for at least 50 miles. I've been off grid out here for at least, well, I'd say going on, how long has it been? A couple weeks now. And I'm having the time of my life here. But the reason why I want to be friends with you is because I believe you and I have a lot in common. In the way of actually having the courage to stand on universal truth. That tells me that you're a serious student here. And I respect the hell out of that. Now, I say this gently to you, but that email read as fear to me. But after really thinking about and meditating on how I would feel if I were in your shoes, along with watching different videos from women talking about men in this regard, such as this one.
So let's talk about what this realization actually is. For a lot of women, it's the moment that you start noticing that while many men like certain things about women, they don't actually like women as people. They like the comfort that women bring. They like the attention. They like having someone that listens, supports them, remembers, cares. They like what a woman can do for them. But when it comes to women's inner worlds, their emotions, their needs, their perspectives, there's often a real lack of genuine interest. And sometimes, if we're just being honest, there's irritation, resentment, and even hate.
The fearful feeling that I come to is someone who might use me as an emotional dumping ground. But that's not at all who I am, who I've become, and who I continue to become even more of. And it's not at all what happens when the Quakers and the Amish go and sit with someone after they have experienced the loss of a loved one. The way I see it is that when something like that happens, it provides a tremendous opportunity for growth for that person in this classroom. A way to grow even that much closer to God, or whatever you choose to call this source. And that's the only thing that I'm after now. In closing, I want to take you somewhere, because I want you to see the impact that you've had on other people with the gifts that you have been given. You're looking at one of those people in me. It's to a place called Quinn Canyon. It's a long way from here, and it's way over that ridge right there. This place right here was the most terrified I've ever been, by far. This place is about 75 miles northwest of Area 51, which is way that way. It's over behind that mountain right there. And you don't put the world's most top secret military base in downtown Manhattan. You put it in quite the opposite place. But this place is even much more utterly remote than that. About this time last year, I got lost out here with no lifeline out of this place. That song that you played that day in your yoga class is like a constant prayer and meditation for me. Every time I listen to that song, it's so powerful that it brings me to tears. And you can't fake crying. That song allowed me to be in the space that I needed to be in that day. Because otherwise, there's no logical reason for me to be here telling you this now. If logic had been the deciding factor, which it most commonly is, I would have died in this desert last year. And my physical body would have eventually been found and removed from this place in a body bag. That's not hyperbole. That's reality out here. But instead, that song brought me to a place within myself that I needed to be in order to have an absolute profound spiritual encounter that delivered me from the desert. Do you know why you played that song that day? It's because you were meant to be there to play that song. Which also included showing me the loving kindness that you showed me after your class. You know why all of that happened? It's because you did the work on yourself in order to get to that place where you could serve God or whatever you choose to call that source in that capacity. So this is not somebody calling you a saint. It's a very serious student of this classroom telling another very serious student of this classroom, very nice job. God is very proud of you for that. There's a post on my Facebook page from July 2nd, 2025 that's public. So you don't need a Facebook account to read it. It's about what happened to me here. And I'd like for you to read it. Not because of what happened to me, but because I want you to see what your impact has been on other people. Anyway, if you'd like to reconsider being my friend or just sitting with me after my parents die, I would be very honored to have you with me. But if you choose to never speak with me again, it doesn't change anything I've said to you here. I love you fully, and I release you completely. Thank you for watching.
There are some things I may not know. There are some places, dear Lord, I may not go. But there's one thing of which I'm sure. God is real, for I can feel Him in my soul. Well, yes, God is real in my soul. Yes, God is real, for He has washed and made me whole.